Hello, and welcome to the Wednesday night show starring me, Nick Anderson. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I've got a very exciting show for you. My friend and fellow bandmate Jeffrey Durow Jr. is going to be on the show tonight. We're going to talk a lot about punk music and just him in general, and what punk is, what bands he grew up listening to, what kind of made him punk, and yeah, we're gonna get right into it today. I also, well, we'll wait for the beer when we get Jeff on here. So I'm gonna bring Jeff in. All right. Hey Jeff, how you doing?
Hey,
Hey.
having
All
troubles
right. I'm
hearing
having
you.
some. Can you hear me all right?
One second here.
All right. All right. There we go.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I was having some issues too. Um, there we go. There we go. All right. Sorry, folks. All right. So Jeff and I
Hang
were
on one
talking.
second.
All right. Well, Jeff and I were talking earlier today, and I had, or he had this beer, this Hot Spot Hazy IPA. Now, I said I wasn't going to do another IPA, but Jeff showed me this can here, and it just looked so cool. And the interesting part about this is it's made by Quick Trip, or it's made by Carbon 4, which is a brewery that I really like. But Quick Trip, it's a quick series beer. Do you know what that means, Jeff?
Um, it gets you drunk quick.
I wonder if Quick Trip is, I wonder why their name is on it. We'll have to do some more research on that.
It,
But
it almost condones drinking and driving in a weird way.
because it's at a gas station, or
Yeah, it's their quick series beer. It says pair it with their special foods,
okay,
their hot food.
I don't
Um,
think that necessarily means it promotes drinking and driving,
I I concur.
but it does have a really neat can. I mean, if you look at the back of this can, it's got almost like comic book writing on it, um, which is really neat. It says, "It has been said, home is where the hot spot is. Quick Trip 2018. It has also been said, hold my beer. Me just before the great mistake of 2002. Listen, if you came to this label seeking sage advice, you're barking up the wrong tree. What we can offer is a beautiful brew that will pair perfectly with any tasty treat from the hot spot. See you next time." I like that they put their little "see you next time" on there. That's good. All
And you
right.
don't even need food to complement it. It's
Yeah, I'm gonna
just a
take my
good
first
beer.
sip here. We'll see. Let's see
Cheers.
what we got. Cheers. It's interesting.
It's a nice little,
It definitely tastes like it has citra hops.
yeah, a
Um,
little bit.
it's very citrusy. It's you had said what's the Fantasy Factory? We drink that beer a lot, and it kind of has a taste
The
reminiscent of
same
that,
ring.
but
Yeah.
almost it tastes like it has mandarin oranges in it. I would say,
I believe it's
which
made
is
by the
interesting.
same company as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it definitely is. The same company as Fantasy Factory. It's Carbon 4 Brewing. And they're in Madison. So we'll have to. I've never been at this brewery, but we'll definitely have to get down there or over there someday and check that out. So yeah, that's the beer of this week. And Jeff, we wanted to bring you on the show because we wanted to talk about punk rock. And I consider you my punk rocker friend. I would say, do you consider yourself punk rock? Or
Um, I consider myself Runk Pak.
Runk Pak? Okay.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
does that mean?
Well, it's just the drunk version of saying punk rock. You take the R and you put it where the P is, and the P and you put it where the R is.
Okay.
So nothing like Tupac or anything like that. Just Runk Pak.
Runk Pak. Okay. Interesting.
I consider myself a master of the punk rock skills because I have tattoos.
Okay.
So therefore, I think I know a lot about the subject.
Okay. How many tattoos do you have? I think
Um, 13.
13. There's more than that. There's probably
I,
13 on your left arm.
I don't know. I don't count them anymore.
Okay.
I don't think I ever counted them actually. Um,
Do you want to share some of your cooler tattoos to start off?
um, sure. This is weird, but this is my dog, Thomas Dwayne.
Yeah, that looks
Uh,
great.
Screeching Weasel
Oops.
type esque logo there going on. One of my favorites because my dog's the best. I also have this came from a Kit Kat wrapper. It says it's hard to see on the camera, but it says "Sorry, you're not a winner." One of my favorites right there. And last but not least, the crock pot here. It's for my grandma. She always kept me fed well.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. And there's so many more interesting tattoos you have as well. I would say,
Yeah.
like at first glance, I would say you probably have what, 50 tattoos? I mean, you're
Um,
pretty covered.
yeah, I think they're all kind of becoming one. So I think it's safe to say I have one tattoo because they're all just merging together.
Sure. Sure.
But I do want to say Aaron Krieger at Krieger Studios,
Sure.
phenomenal artist.
I agree. I agree. The work he's done on you, it just looks fantastic. The colors are so bright. His lines are really, really crisp, especially on some really detailed stuff that you've had
Yeah.
done.
And he's
So
just a friendly punk rocker.
yeah, yeah. So what is it about tattoos that's punk rock? Like why are tattoos punk rock, you think?
I think it has a lot to do with Good Charlotte and all the tattoos that they had. And then you have
Yeah.
Travis Barker, so no, I think the tattoos go along with the mentality and the be your own person vibe of punk rock.
Okay.
And do things your own way. In
Is
fact,
it
not to keep talking about tattoos, but I have a tattoo on my arm here that comes from a punk rock song. And it says "True Believer." And I once had a gentleman ask me, what does that mean? And I said, well, true believer, it means believing in yourself and doing what you think is right to empower yourself to be a better person. And the
okay?
guy, he laughed at me and he said, good luck. Write a book about it. And when you finish it, let me know.
Interesting.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. But that's my motto behind it all is being your own person and believing in yourself.
Okay. And punk is so visual, so like when I think of a punk rocker, I think we all think of like, mohawks, tattoos, dark eyeliner. Like, why is it that punk is so visual? So like you're saying that you, have, I guess just explain that. Yeah.
Um, I think a little bit about that has to do with I don't want to say it's kind of cliche because it's almost like a uniform, but
Okay.
it is a way to identify one another in a crowd. Um,
Interesting.
the punk rock people that I've met in my life were very close, um, and I guess I really don't know how to explain it in a non-silly way, but
Sure.
it's just a way of representing yourself and other people and the things you believe in. No different from somebody wearing a NASCAR T-shirt.
Okay, cool. Cool. So let's go back. Jeff and I have gathered some pictures to show you today from kind of his earlier punk days and some of his earlier bands and things like that. So, about what age did you, were you a punk rocker? Did you become a punk and then join a band, or did you join a band and become a punk?
Um, well, if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Okay. Okay.
I'm kidding. I think they came hand in hand.
Okay.
Punk rock music is what made me want to be in a band,
Okay.
and being with like-minded friends growing up, we were playing punk rock music and just getting more and more into the culture and everything like that. So they kind of just were destined to be
Sure.
together.
Sure. So let's take a look here at some of these pictures. I'll try to find the earliest one here. Here's a good one.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
Jeff. And explain to me what's happening in this picture.
Um, So that is a really nice leather jacket. Uh, Talk about the punk fashion. I got that jacket at St. Vincent de Paul, and
Okay.
during in-school suspension, uh, I took a white paint marker and painted the white stripes on that jacket. And then I hand pinned it and all that jazz. But most importantly, besides my awful haircut, is the little puppy that I'm holding. And that would be the one and only Sir Thomas Duane, who
Yeah.
is now 13 years old.
Where is he now? Do you have him close by that we can see him now?
Yeah, you just give me 1 second.
Sure. Look at this picture. That's fantastic. I mean, you got the hairdo, we'll call it, and then oh man, so there's the little puppy there, and then there he is today. How do you
Yeah,
like that? So what year is this picture from, do you think?
that has to be the end of 2006, early 2007.
Okay, so you're holding an old dog there.
Yeah. Um, we've been homies for a while,
Okay.
and he's so punk rock.
Yeah,
It's
how come?
insane. Well, in fact, in that picture that you showed, the little hoodie he's wearing, I purchased at a Target, and it actually says on the hoodie, Punk Barker.
Punk
Very
Barker.
clever, very clever.
Okay, which
Um,
for those of our fans who don't know what that's a joke on, the band Blink-182, their drummer's name is Travis Barker.
Correct. And it's also spoofing just punk rocker in general.
Oh, okay.
Punk
Okay.
Barker, punk rocker.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, 13 years. His name is Thomas Duane. He got his first name from Tom DeLonge from Blink-182, and
Okay.
his middle name, Duane, came from a awesome professional skateboarder who was also a musician, Dwayne Peters.
Okay. So let's take a look. You were mentioning Blink-182, which is a big band
Yeah,
for you. We've got Tom DeLonge that's closest to you on the screen, and then closest to me is Travis Barker. And then in the middle, we've got Mark Hoppus. So Blink-182, would you say it's your favorite band, Jeff?
you know what's funny about this particular picture you chose is I believe when I was in middle school, my sister for Christmas got me this poster and she cut it up and framed it. So it was in my bedroom growing up
What do you
all
mean
my
cut
life.
it up and framed it?
Well, because she didn't get like a frame for a poster. So she like cropped out just like the dudes.
Oh, okay.
You've
Yes.
probably seen it and didn't even know
I
that it
have
was.
seen it now I'm imagining
Yeah,
it cropped. So that's cool.
yeah.
That's cool. And Blink-182, would you say it's your favorite band?
Uh, so Blink-182 is, I always call them my Fisher Price, my first punk band.
Okay.
Um, Blink-182 ignited the fuse. It's what started it all for me, and it sounds silly and cliche, but it also goes to show how much they've influenced people all over the world to
Sure.
pick up a guitar and start playing music. So I think I got their first CD when I was like 10 years old, and the first concert that I went to that really made me want to play music was seeing Blink-182 live with my two other friends. And the next day we started a band, and
Wow.
we thought we were punk because we wore ties and Converse
Sure.
shoes, and we didn't know how to play instruments. And there's nothing more punk than all three of those combined.
Sure. And that's kind of how I started too, is not Blink-182, but for me it was Green Day, American Idiot coming out. And I heard that album, and as unpunk as this is, I remember asking my mom if I was allowed to listen to it because it had swear words in it. And I remember going to her and I was like, Mom, I really want to listen to this. It has some swear words. I promise I won't repeat them if I listen to it. And then this part's a little hazy, but I think my dad and my mom came and they were like, yeah, let the boy listen to the songs.
Right. Well, that's
So
that's
luckily they
also
did.
ironic because when I saw Blink-182 the first time, they were also headlining with Green Day. So
Oh,
it was
yeah.
Green Day and Blink-182 in Milwaukee. The
Okay.
other funny story that reminds me of is when I got Take Off Your Pants and Jacket,
An
that
album by
album,
Blink-182.
yep, that album was explicit content, parental advisory.
Sure. Which
So I
just made
went
it
to the
cooler.
local Kmart with my grandmother, and I said, Grandma, can I get this album, please? I really want this She said, sure. So we get to the checkout, and the lady who's checking us out looks at my grandma, and she says, I'm going to need to see some ID. And my grandma says, for what? And she said, well, this album is explicit content, so you have to be 18 or older. And I was like, you can't tell that my grandma's older than 18?
Yeah.
Anyways, my grandma showed her ID, and she paid for it. We got in the car, and she looked at me, and she said, this must be some nasty shit if they're carding me over it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there was a couple songs that were a little explicit, but...
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, and so you started playing in a band right after you saw Blink-182, and I started learning guitar for real right after listening to Green Day. And I remember thinking, like, man, this music, for whatever reason, it just like awoke something in me.
Right.
And I had to be able to play. And I remember AOL Instant Messenger, I was having a hard time figuring out the chords, and my uncle Tommy was in a band. So I was like, I can't figure out how to play a power chord. Can you explain it to me? And I wasn't close with my uncle or anything at that time. So it was a big deal for me to reach out and be like, how do I play a power chord? And
Right.
then once I learned that, everything changed, which the power chord is, for people who aren't familiar, it's a 2-note chord or a 3-note chord on a guitar that you can move anywhere on the entire neck of the guitar. So as soon as you learn it in one spot, you can just move it all over the place, which is why
You
it's
can play punk rock.
Yeah. And then that was the next thing. I was talking to my dad and said, how do you write a song? And he pointed at my chord sheet on the wall, and he said, you just pick a couple of those and you've got a song. So then with that and my power chord, I was good to go and started writing songs, started learning guitar, and I was unstoppable.
It's very interesting, our two perspectives on that growing up. So, like, you learned the guitar and figured out how to, I shouldn't say figure out, but you found your way on how to write music before starting a band, where B and my friends just dove right in. We didn't know what we were doing. Our drummer got his drum set 2 days before we started as a band, but he was a drummer in middle school. So
sure,
if he can play the snare drum in middle school orchestra, then why can't he play the drum set, even if the band teacher says he can't?
Right.
So
right.
That's very interesting to me. I didn't ever really think about writing a song. I just strummed the guitar until something sounded cool. And then I was like, oh, dudes, check this out. And then I put some really bad lyrics behind it, and then we had a punk band.
You go. Yeah. What was the name of the first punk band?
Well, we had several names at first, but the main name we were known by for the first half was Fedge, which is my name backwards, FFEJ.
Okay.
And then we had an attitude, so we got the F out, and we changed it to FEJ, just one F. And then we decided, my name backwards isn't going to get us anywhere, so we changed the name to The Follow-Up. And the reason we used the name The Follow-Up is not only did we like it, we thought it was the follow-up to what we had already done, but you could also abbreviate it with an F and a U. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's punk rock.
Exactly.
Nice. Well, I kind of want to go back here. We've got a picture from I believe your first time in a recording studio. Is that accurate?
Not the first time in a recording studio, but the first time in a good one.
Okay, cool. So let's take a look here. We've got a lot to digest in this picture here. First of all, the purple mohawk, that's Jeff. If you're looking,
yeah,
this guy on there is the guy with the purple mohawk on here, and that is awesome. Tell me about it.
Well, my girlfriend at the time, she took a pair of clippers and shaved my head, and then we bleached it and put purple hair dye in.
Nice.
But
nice.
It took a lot of work. It got bigger and bigger. That's in a middle stage, but it was about 2 or 3 times bigger at one point. It took a lot of straightening a lot of hairspray, a lot of patience, and it taught me about being myself and who I am.
Nice. Now, I would think, did you shave a little spot for the headphones to go on your head there, or
No, it's actually just folding the mohawk over.
it's just folding it down? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Cool. Because I
but
was thinking,
that's how strong the substance was I used to keep it up. Is you could fold it over like that, and it would just right back.
sure. I
So,
would think you just like shave a little portion of your head there, and then you just like tape that to the headphones, and then when you put the headphones on,
well,
you have a
that
full
would work in the
headpiece.
studio, but you have to remember we had to play shows, and I
That's
still
true.
had to piss off my dad. So,
That's true. Um,
although shaving part of it might have helped with that last one.
yeah, yeah. So my favorite part about this picture is that you're at Rock Garden Studio
hmm
in, was it in Appleton?
Yes, we actually won a battle of the bands, and we won uh, 8 hours of recording time.
Okay. So the reason that this is my favorite picture is it's in Rock Garden Studio, and Rock Garden Studio is in Appleton. This picture was taken in 2006. We
Correct.
pondered. Now I want to show you this picture of me in 2008. I think this was, and there I am playing an acoustic guitar in the same
Same
exact
studio.
studio 2 years later. I'm a little bit younger than Jeff, but I just thought that was so neat. We were looking through our pictures and we're like, wait, you were here, and so it's just so it's so awesome.
And then we both ended up recording there together.
And
So
then yeah, and then last year we ended up recording there together. If you listen to our song Dance Dance, or what else did we do
you
there?
know, it's kind of
Vitamin
ironic
C.
because some of those songs have a punkier feel
Yeah,
in a way. So
yeah,
it's kind of ironic how that happens. I'll never forget when we got to the studio. Mark, he was such an amazing guy, but he said, "What do you guys want to do? How many songs you want to do?" And I said, "We want to do, I think it was 8." And he's like, "Well, you have 8 hours." And I said, "Yeah, we want to do 8 songs." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And we did
yeah,
it. We got all of them done. We spent a lot of time rehearsing because we didn't play in good studios before. We spent a lot of time rehearsing like we were going to be at a bad studio. So once we got into a
sure.
good studio, except for our vocals, my vocals, we did all right.
Good,
We surprised
good.
him. We
That's
got a
awesome.
nod
That's awesome. Yeah, that's it's just so cool to me that that was kind of a special recording studio in both of our musical lives.
for
I
sure.
gained a lot of confidence from recording there the first time. I know you did too, because Mark made everybody sound good that went in
Oh yes.
there, um, which is just
And then
awesome.
on top of that, after we finished recording, we went to Hooters, and the waitress taught us how to eat a chicken wing properly. And being 17 years old, that blew my mind. But I
Yeah, it sounds
forgot
like
how she did it.
a perfect day.
Yeah.
Um, cool. So let's talk. Let's go back about early punk here. So to me, my favorite punk band is the Ramones. So I'm gonna show a picture of the Ramones here. I love them because they're just so ugly. And
I'm glad you said ugly.
what's that?
Said I'm glad you said ugly.
Yeah, they're. It's just so cool that they are this huge icon. They sucked,
And their music was poppy.
and their music was poppy,
It was very
but they
poppy.
became this huge icon. And I think a lot of punk rockers, I think a lot of musicians, and I think a lot of just just people appreciate how much they rocked without being good, which
Oh yeah.
gives hope to so many people.
But so it's like even if the music wasn't technical, they were all together.
Yeah, yeah, the
There was
music is
a
tight.
there was a science behind it.
It's a beautiful mess.
All the strumming on guitar is specifically downstrokes.
Yeah,
Specifically downstrokes. That's why they have their own sound and uh, phenomenal band.
yeah. And just a little bit of history about where the Ramones came from. There's a movie called CBGB's. I'll put that title up here. Let's see, CBGB's. You've got to watch this movie. It's about a punk rock club in New York City, and this is basically where a ton of giant punk artists came from. This is where the Ramones got their start. This is where Joan Jett was playing when she first started. This is where,
Let me check the punk rock encyclopedia.
yeah.
I just need to make sure that you're correct on this.
And
I opened it right up to the story of CBGB.
hell yeah.
That wasn't even planned.
And the interesting part is this club originally was supposed to be, I think it stands for Country, Bluegrass, and Blues is what this club was supposed to be. But it just kind of ended up being this crazy punk club that on their website, it says they're the birthplace of punk. And I mean, I'll give it to them.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will argue it. You also have to think about the London punk rock scene over in Europe, with the Sex Pistols and the Clash, and most importantly, the band that everybody forgets about, The Damned.
The Damned.
Yes, great band. So, I mean, it's arguably, but we won't go there. It's
okay.
Not worth a fist fight. I got Steve behind me, so.
The CBGB movie, it's on Amazon Prime if anyone is interested in watching it. Fantastic movie. It really funny, it's cool, it's educational.
It kind of showcases the Dead Boys, right? That's the band that it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
and the Dead Boys were a great band.
It has some fantastic actors in it too. Let's see. I forget the guy. It's the guy who plays Snape. I can't remember his name. He passed away. Let's see here.
But
Alan Rickman.
Alan
Rickman is the lead, and Rupert Grint is in it too, who is Ron in Harry Potter. So I thought that was pretty funny, seeing both of them in a punk movie together. That was pretty cool. So definitely worth a watch.
There was a lot of bands that played there that weren't necessarily punk as well, though. So I mean, I think it was just a legendary venue.
Yeah.
Altogether.
It sounds like it was a pretty punk place in terms of like it was pretty gross in there.
Right.
Like, at least the way they portrayed in the movie is that like the bathrooms were never cleaned. There was literal dog shit like just on the floor.
It's like places we played across the country.
Yeah. And just stickers all over the wall.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a cool place. Let's get into some more of these bands and pictures that we've got of you. I think that's really what the people want here.
I hope.
I think this is the follow-ups that you're talking about. So you can see the mohawk there. Is this an album cover, or we pulled this from Jeff's MySpace page?
That is an album cover. That is a picture of me with my hands up against the wall at the First Ave. We played at the 7th Street entry that night.
How old were you when you were playing there?
I was probably 18 there.
Okay.
I drank a lot of Red Bull and 5-Hour Energies.
Nice.
On the way to that show.
Dangerous.
So once we got there, I felt very sick. And that's so punk rock,
Yeah.
Like, all this rock star and, all that caffeine. But that picture was at First Ave. We played 7th Street entry, and that was quite an experience for a little band from Menominee, Michigan.
Sure.
For those that don't know where Menominee, Michigan is, it's, I can never get this right. If this is the Upper Peninsula from the tip down here.
Okay.
You get it.
Nice.
They taught us that in school.
Nice.
It is nice.
I want to share a picture. Now, we're going to do comments on this one. Let's see here. I want you guys in the comments we're going to play a game. It's called Punk or Not. And I'm going to show some pictures here. First picture, punk or not. Boom. Punk?
Not punk.
Or not? Not punk. How come?
It looks like a dude trying to be punk.
What?
I just got to ruffle your feathers.
Look at that. Sierra Anderson, not. That hurts.
Do you remember when you asked me if I got a job? And I told you my job is to ruffle your feathers?
That's true. See, I think this picture is punk. I'm going to make my case here. My mom says it's not. Your mom says it's Mary Anderson, not punk.
Your own mom said you're not punk,
Not
man.
punk.
So,
I'm
you
gonna
know, it's
make
nice,
a case here. I'm gonna
nice
make
to
a
have our
case here.
moms on.
Let me explain to you why this is punk. First, hairy chest is showing. That's punk.
That's like 80s metal.
Wearing a marching band uniform on stage. That's punk.
That's ska.
That's not ska. I'm playing I'm playing like War Pigs by Black Sabbath in this picture with a marching band hat on. That just is that's cool.
That's metal. You just said.
So
You're playing
it's
War
metal.
Pigs.
It's metal. It's not. Well, the song is metal, but like, okay. Reason number 3 that it's punk. Look at my teeth.
Yeah. You got that Nicky Rotten look.
Yeah. I just look dirty.
I thought the ska joke was funny.
Yeah, that was good.
You know, horns and stuff like that, and
That's true. That's true.
Sorry, I didn't mean to give you such a rough
No,
time.
you know what?
In front of your mom.
I'm pretty mad about it, but that's okay. I can't figure out how to get this picture off of here. There we go. Okay, now we're gonna do another picture, and again, team, punk or not?
Look at that puppy,
Let's
though.
see the comments. Punk or not?
That is one punk dog.
Punk or not, the game where we see pictures and we decide if they're punk or not. Punk or not.
Punk or junk.
Barb says punk. Sierra says possibly punk. Oh, damn.
Dang.
Your mother says punk.
Yeah, well, she's always got my back. She's a punk rocker.
My mom says punk.
Ooh. So, yeah, I guess I'm winning the punk.
Abby says young punk.
Well, Tom was pretty young.
Coincidentally, I feel like that should be your rapper name. Like, instead of like Lil Jeff or Lil whatever, you're young punk. But we'll spell.
I get that, but I already have my rap name. It's the Muskrat. They call me the Muskrat, man. How about that hairdo?
That is a good hairdo. That's really something. Which actually, now that you're saying Muskrat, I have to ask. Can you do a little rap for us?
Yes. So for a brief period in my life, I lived in North Dakota, and I was Yes, I was teeter-tottering between being a rapper or a country musician. I didn't have anything else to do, and one day I saw a muskrat walk into Walmart. Sliding doors opened. Muskrat ran in. So that's when it hit me, and I was like, lay a beat for me, Tom. They call me the Muskrat. I'm all over these streets. I'm flooding the town, flowing through these beats. You better ask your girl. She already know me. I got your lady on my lap, and you know I'm made deep because I'm an animal, and I'm here to offend. You better lock up shop before I make you a hazard. The shit is flammable. You better listen with caution. My mouth is a mash. You fucking words are you coughing?
Damn.
All because of one muskrat.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
I've never lived it down. It's my second calling after I retire. I'm going to be a hip hop star.
Okay. That makes sense. All right, back to punk. We're done with punk or not. Before I go into this next section, I'm just going to pose a question to our audience. Do you guys have any questions for Jeff or I, mostly Jeff, about punk rock? What questions do you guys have? And while you're thinking of those questions and typing those in for us, I'm going to go on to another picture here, where I want to talk about a venue that closed down in Eau Claire called the House of Rock. Now, this feels pretty punk. There's me in the back room. I'm definitely not punk in this, so that's not what I'm saying. But there's me in the back room. Those two girls are, though. Yeah. But the House of Rock, I feel like it was a pretty punk place.
The House of Rock was so punky, it broke my ribs.
That's true. Let's tell that story.
Yeah. Hadn't seen Nick in a long time and went there, and there he was, and he picked me up like a ladder and carried me into the bathroom, and while doing so, he broke my ribs.
Yep. True story.
He was very aggressive.
Jeff and I were in a band together before, Nick Anderson and the Skinny Lovers, and for those of you who don't know, Jeff is one of the Skinny Lovers in my band, Nick Anderson and the Skinny Lovers. So Awesome. Before that band, we were in a band called Granite Rose that I actually kicked Jeff out of. And Jeff and I were becoming like just the bestest of friends. And then I
Bestest.
and then I kicked him out of the band. And I hadn't seen him for a long time, and it was a bummer. And then he came to the House of Rock, where I think was was Granite Rose
Granite
playing that
Rose
night?
was playing.
Yeah, which I thought was really, really cool. So I was so excited to see you. I went and grabbed you, hugged you, and I hugged Jeff so passionately that I actually broke one of his ribs.
Yeah. So your wife better be careful.
Yeah,
If she goes on a vacation and you don't come with, and she comes home, like, don't hug her too hard.
yeah, you know.
You could be a professional wrestler.
I actually have huge biceps and arm strength, and that's why things like that often happen to me.
Yeah, I mean, playing guitar, you work all those muscles.
Yes. Yes. Okay, let's see what we got for questions here now. None. Okay.
Well, none is a very beautiful thing.
What questions do you guys have for Jeff, if any? If not, that's totally fine too. We've got clapping moms and wives in here that we can just show stuff like that too.
Hey, we got the clap.
True. True. Okay, what else do we want to talk here about punk rock, Jeff? We've talked about, some of the earlier punk rock bands. We've talked about CBGBs. We've talked about your earlier punk experiences. What do we want to talk about next?
So let's talk about Nick Anderson and the Skinny Lovers.
Yes.
I mean, that is a really good band from what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's funny because all three of us have such different backgrounds in music and influences. And then when we come together, we make a very interesting, beautiful sound, in my opinion. Sorry,
Yes.
I'm not very humble.
It is very interesting how our sound comes together. Like, we always consider you the punk rocker of the band, and we kind of consider me the classic rocker. But, I mean,
Ian's the jazz dude.
Ian's the jazz dude. All of those mesh, because, like, you've shown more punk to me, so I've experienced more punk music because of you. But also,
But it's vice versa.
yeah. But, like, Green Day was where I started. Green Day was, what got me into this whole music thing in
Right.
the first place. And I mean, I don't consider them straight up punk. They're like pop punk, but it could be argued that the Ramones are too, I think. But it's just interesting. There's so many different musical genres coming into one band. And yeah,
I think,
you get this weird sound from it.
And that kind of makes me think about punk rock in a certain stance where it's more accessible than people give it credit.
Yeah.
It translates over many genres, and you don't even know it's happening.
Yeah.
So when people think of punk rock and they just think of mohawks and studded jackets and dudes beating people up, like, that's the furthest from the truth,
Right.
at least now.
Well, this sounds super cheesy, but like, to me, punk rock is America, because punk rock is standing up against things you don't believe in. It's about helping each other out. It's about do it yourself. Like, it's America.
Right.
And I know people are laughing at home right now because I just said punk rock is America. But, I'm trying to make more statements like that so that the show goes viral. Punk rock's America. And
it's making America great again.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Nick Anderson, the Skinny Lovers performances was when we played outside the baseball stadium.
I knew you were going to say that, yeah.
To nobody except for like two people. And this one guy walks up and he says, "It's really refreshing to see a punk rock band."
Yeah.
And we all looked at each other like, what the?
Or like, is there another band? Because like,
another band playing?
We played like Vitamin C, which is this, super soft type song. And then like, we're playing, I mean, some of our songs you can feel are punk, but like, I would never assume that an outsider would look at us and be like, check out this punk band.
Right.
So that was so cool.
And that's what I mean by, I think it's very accessible, and it's up to interpretation as to what people think is punk. I mean, if you look back to like Patti Smith and stuff like that, very interpretational. It's not fast, aggressive, angry music, but it's the way it's presented,
Right.
and it's the authenticity behind it and the belief behind it and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, which I love. Like, yeah. So to me, punk is this attitude, and I'm not like right now. If someone looked at me, they would not be like, look at that punk.
You never
But
know.
like the way I play music and stuff, and when I'm like playing punk riffs or when I'm playing guitar, like I feel punk, and I think that real punks would call me a poser
Yeah, you're a
because
poser.
yeah.
Just
So
kidding.
so let's talk about that. Like there's a big poser thing in punk. Like explain that to me because for like I had never heard of punk and poser before. Explain that.
Well, I mean, I definitely grew up with it a little bit. I always thought it was funny. I'll never forget first punk band I saw was Blink 182 and Green Day, and I had a Blink 182 shirt, and I was wearing it to Walmart with my friends, and we're punk rock, and uh, this the town's notorious punk rocker. Like if you've ever seen the movie SLC Punk, that was
Yeah.
this guy. He wore a
Another great
studded
movie to check
jacket,
out.
Doc Martens, and plaid pants, and he'd beat up your mom if he wanted to, type guy.
Did I spell that right?
Yeah.
Okay, check this
So,
movie out too. This is something Jeff showed me that I really, really liked.
so
Um,
I'm in Walmart, and this guy drop kicks me out of nowhere, like in the chest.
drop kicks you?
Yeah, in his Doc Marten boots.
Damn.
And I look up at him, and I was like, "What's that about?" And he knew my friend's older sister, and he's like, "You're not punk rock." He's like, "You don't know anything about Blink 182, you poser." And I was 12 years old. Like, I didn't even know that punk rock was a thing. I was just getting into it and stuff.
Sure.
But ever since then, I've had this thought that it's a very protected thing where the more it gets popular, the more you feel like you're losing control of something you love.
Okay.
Like it's not your secret anymore. And more
Okay.
people are onto it. So it's not your thing now because 12-year-olds are wearing their t-shirts
So
and they're playing it,
the way that they feel like they're protecting their culture is by calling
drop
people,
kicking 12-year-olds
yeah,
and
and calling them a
calling them
poser.
poser.
That makes sense.
That
That makes
guy, he
sense.
taught me a lot. He did. He was a very interesting human being. I
So
haven't seen
here's
him in
what
a long
here's what
time.
I think. If you know, like, so take me. I know that I'm
Poser.
a poser in punk. Yeah, I'm a poser. But I know I'm a poser and I'm gonna continue to do it anyways. That's fucking or sorry. That's punk,
Right.
right?
Well,
Cause
I
cause
actually I hate the term poser. I think it's stupid.
I do too. If
Who
I'm a poser and I know it, that just makes me a punk in my like right?
who are we to say to somebody that we don't know that they're a poser just because of how they look or what bands they listen to? I mean, it goes beyond just that.
Right.
I think Tim Armstrong said it great.
Who's Tim
the
Armstrong?
the lead or one of the lead singers and guitar player for Rancid.
Okay.
He said if a 16-year-old came up to me and he's playing guitar, he's like, "Who am I to tell him if he's punk or not? Only he knows, his story. Only he knows his life.
Yeah.
For me to call him a poser or anything like that is, stupid. Like,
Yeah.
so you're a poser, Nick."
I know. All right, let's see what kind of let's see. We've got some questions here now. We've got one from this Heather girl who says, "Who's his favorite sister?" And you
um,
know,
my favorite sister would be Natalie Portman.
okay,
We're not blood related, but I do have a feeling we are related somehow. My second favorite sister is Heather Eelson.
okay. So second favorite sister, Heather. Nice. Okay. Hashtag punk rock is America. Yeah.
Hey, we could get that trending. Thanks, Mary.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, Allison Thompson wants to know what is Jeff's favorite punk rock song?
Damn. Give me a second here on this one. And think about this koozie.
What
Oh. Sorry. Taco
Wow.
Cat.
Taco Cat
Yeah.
backwards is
So my favorite punk rock song ever would probably, just right now, it changes every day. But my favorite punk rock song ever right now would be NoFX. It's my job to keep punk rock elite.
okay. And let's show a picture of NoFX here. I think this is the right one. Yep. So there's NoFX. Very interesting crew of characters. You've got Fat Mike.
El Jefe.
That's not an insult. That's his name.
Yep.
El Jefe, and then I don't remember. Melvin. Okay.
And Smelly.
And then Smelly, and that was right to left. So cool. And these guys, they get in all kinds of trouble. Like they, to me, are your real, like when you think of a stereotypical punk, that's this band to me.
Until you meet a crust punk on the streets that says NoFX is posers.
What the heck is a crust punk?
How do I don't want to get beat up later.
Is it just like a punk who hasn't showered in a long time, so they're all
a crust punk? So you know the punk rockers that you see that are just fully in their studded jackets, giant mohawks, bullet belts, tight pants, big, like that's a crust punk. Like
okay.
That's all they do, punk rock.
Okay. Interesting. Sierra says, Jeff has had many more words of wisdom than I anticipated. That's pretty mean.
Thank you.
But it's also a compliment. So
the crust punk thing reminds me of a story. Can I say it?
Sure.
When I was in Madison once, I had my leather jacket on, all studded, and my mohawk up.
Okay.
And I'm walking down the road, and this homeless guy, he looked like Brian Posehn. Too bad we don't have a picture of him. The stand-up comedian.
Okay.
Just a really big dude. And he's like, hey, buddy, do you have any money for me? I said, I'm sorry, I don't have any money. And he's like, oh, yeah, Mr. Punk Rocker, you don't have any money. And I looked at him, and I said, yeah, I am a punk rocker. I have no money. Like, if I had $1, I'd give it to you, but I can't. And then he's like, have you ever heard of the bloody blah, 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 blahs? And I was like, nope. And he's like, have you ever heard of the dirty da, 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 da? And he just started naming all these obscure band names. And that's one of those trademark punk moments that you're like, man, this guy thinks I'm a poser because he's naming all these bands. Needless to say, I slept in a nice hotel room that night, and he slept on the street.
Holy shit.
That was a joke.
That got real. That was punk.
You got to call it how it is, you know?
Damn. Okay, Sierra says, it wasn't supposed to be mean. I was expecting more Jeff stories. So for our audience, Jeff stories are just very long stories that are full of Jeff is a great storyteller. It's part of the reason that we're such good friends is because I, too, am a fantastic storyteller. Jeff and I just tell it how it is, honestly, and with no added details or embellishments is what I would say. And that's going to be the title of both of our autobiographies.
Yeah.
It's going to be The Jeff and Nick Story. No embellishments ever, just the honest truth in stories.
And we like to add insult to injury.
So after Sierra says it wasn't supposed to be mean, I was expecting more Jeff stories. Shy says you spoke too soon.
Is it getting too dark on my end? Do I need to brighten it up over here?
You're good.
Okay.
We don't really want to see you that well.
Okay, good.
Tell Jeff his
I'm having a bad hair day.
Dude, we're all having a bad hair day. Look at...
Well, you're balding, so that's a different...
Hey, now.
So, you know who isn't having a bad hair day?
It's getting long.
Stone Cold Steve Austin is not having a bad hair day. No. Also, Thomas Dwayne.
Look at that dog.
He never has a bad hair day.
Never. Cool. So we've got, we're going to wrap up the show here pretty soon. We're just going to
We might have to do a punk sequel because we didn't get very far.
We did not get very far. Yeah, there was just so much to talk about, and I think we're just trying to fit it in. We're trying to be entertaining also. So, it's very difficult to talk about something historically, but also be entertaining. So we are trying to, be funny here.
It's also difficult to talk about something you're passionate about and
True.
not just keep talking and talking and talking and talking.
True. Very true. So
Like my dog.
we've gotten through a lot of good stuff in here. There was one other story that I wanted you to tell the story about New York and when we went to go see the Joe Strummer painting, and what happened when we turned the corner. I'm gonna do you want me to tell it or should you tell it or?
It was weird for me. Do you have a picture from this?
Shoot. You
Because
start telling it and I'll find it.
it was weird for me because this is a picture I've looked at, all of my childhood growing up to see Joe Strummer's mural painted on the wall, but I didn't know where in New York it was and how it was. So one day we're walking and it's like, well, why don't we go see this mural of Joe Strummer? So we find it, and when we turned the corner, it was like my own people. It was like all of a sudden, if I was from the Amazon and I stumbled into the Amazon forest and there's my people with loincloths on, there's my people with studded jackets and colored hair, and they're smoking and they're angry, and they made me feel uncomfortable, and it made me feel like I was a poser, and I was like, these guys are cool. Basically, a very intimidating area of the neighborhood we ended up in.
Yeah.
But they were very polite. We walked up. It's so funny that all these punk rockers hang out in front of that mural.
Yeah, that to me was the surprising part. Like, it was straight out of a movie. Like, we turned the corner and there's a bunch of punks.
It's like if you went to a Quickie Mart and you saw Jay and Silent Bob hanging out outside of the Quickie Mart.
Yeah.
Like rapping and stuff. So here's these punkers, and I was like, wow, they're kind of, New York punkers are very intimidating. They're different from the Midwest. They're not like, hey, come over here, eh? They're like, oh yeah, you want a picture? Take a picture. Let's get out of the picture. So yeah.
I'm having trouble finding this picture, so you gotta talk.
Dude, it's my profile picture, man.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll just go to that then.
Yeah, if you don't know who I am, I'm on Facebook. You can find me there. Got all sorts of neat stuff. I'm in the band, Nick Anderson and the Skinny Lovers. We smell good, but we sound better than we smell. So I'm rounding the corner and I see these punk rockers.
Which, that was cool. That was a cool time.
It was a very cool experience. And my favorite part of the picture is I'm posing like I'm punk, and then you're like, what the fuck? And Ian's like, I have no idea where I am right now.
Yeah,
so the guy
Ian's like, why did we come here?
Yeah, why is this a big deal?
Here we go. There it is.
There it is. And you didn't even realize that you were standing in front of Joe's face.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I think it's just
Such
the angle that the picture was taken too. You know what though? Me standing in front of one of the most famous punks' face that's pretty punk.
That's pretty poser.
So on this episode of Punk or Not, is it pretty punk that I stood in front of his face or what, people? You know what I mean?
And made that gesture like, is this punk? I think that's funny. Punk.
From my point of view, so we've heard Jeff talk about like how people have called him posers and stuff, and from my point of view, we turn this corner, there's all these punks there, and Jeff's excited about seeing this mural. We all are. So we go over to it, and you can tell that, Jeff's kind of like, do these guys think I'm posers? Like, I'm not punk enough to be here? And then,
I should have worn my studded jacket.
It was like you wanted the picture to be taken, but you were like, if I take a picture with this, they'll laugh at me. Like,
exactly.
But also, I'm a punk, so I'm gonna like hang in there, and I gotta do it. And it was just fantastic.
I think that's more punk that picture of you is more punk than with the band hat on, the marching band hat.
Oh, this one?
Yeah,
You think that's more punk than what?
I think you in front of Joe Strummer is more punk than that.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And what a cool time.
that was a
Yeah.
fun time.
Yeah.
And then those guys kicked our asses. Remember, like right after,
Yeah. Yeah. And then
right
we got
after
our
we took the
asses kicked.
picture, they beat us up, and Jesse was like, "Hey guys, I'm out of here. I need some pizza."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was a
Fantastic.
wonderful time in New York.
Yeah, it sure was. So I'm gonna wrap up this episode, and before we do, Jeff, do you have
Cut
any
it
last things you
out.
wanted to say?
Cut it out.
I know, folks. This was a long episode this week. We wanted to do a special episode. I wanted to do a good long episode where you could kind of get to know Jeff a little bit more, get to know Punk, which is a big part about his life, and I just wanted it to be a longer episode because I knew that we would have a lot to talk about. So thank you guys. We've had about 20 viewers this entire time watching, which is
Don't
really,
forget
really
to
neat.
hit that smash button.
Smash the
that.
like button.
Yeah, there we go.
Smash that share button for us. And also,
Call us posers.
wherever you're watching this, you can watch this on my personal Facebook page, on the band's Facebook page, on our YouTube account, and on Twitch. So it's streaming in all of these places at once, and you can always see it in all of those places every single week. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Jeff, do you have any last words or any
Yeah. Never give up. Never
hashtag
give
Nick's
up.
Really Punk?
Never give up. It's what John
Never give
Cena
up.
instilled into me.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well,
Later, poser.
this was Jeff Durow Jr., a local punk rocker, telling it how it is. Thanks for joining us, Jeff, and you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Wednesday Night Show starring Nick Anderson. This was a really fun episode bringing on one of my very, very best friends. Jeff was the best man in my wedding. He is the bassist in my band, and he's my brother. So it's fantastic to have a nice show with him, talk about punk rock and, things like that. We're going to have Ian on the show as well, talk to Ian about what kinds of things he likes. And thank you guys for sticking around. I know this was a long episode, but I wanted it to be special. So thank you guys for tuning in. Hang in there with this, craziness going on. I know that the governor is talking about it lasting longer, and we'll make it through this. I go through waves. I think we all go through waves. I heard someone say that they think they're bipolar, and then another friend said, I think we're all bipolar right now. Some days I feel great. Some days I am not great. So we're all feeling that way. You're not alone there, but we will get through this, and we got it. So with that, my beer is gone. Here's the proof. Thank you, guys. I'm Nick Anderson, and this is the Wednesday Night Show. We'll see you next week at 7 o'clock.